Good news for Johnny Depp. Amber Heard is back, and it's a train wreck, a disaster. It is unlike anything you've ever seen.
Johnny Depp, the iconic Pirates of the Caribbean star, has been causing a stir following his recent transformation. This transformation was far from what anyone had expected, especially after the scandals and legal battles that had placed him on the negative side of the media for years. But this time around, Johnny Depp has decided to return to our screens with a redefining, unrecognizable look that's making headlines. However, one question continues to dominate conversations since the world first witnessed his change. What's the reason behind this transformation? Stick around as we unveil the real reason behind Johnny Depp's transformation. Johnny Depp's unexpected transformation. Johnny Depp, popularly known as Captain Jack Sparrow, has always been a master of reinvention. But no one expected that his comeback into Hollywood, after his intense and public legal battles with his ex-wife, Amber Heard, would spark such a media frenzy. But what was his true intention for doing this? Let's find out. The 61-year-old star had worked his way to becoming one of the most iconic actors of all time, starting way back in 1984, when he played the role of Glenn Lance in A Nightmare on Elm Street. But then, he had to take a back seat and keep a low profile until he could clear his name and return to the spotlight. This time, however, he was almost unrecognizable as he gave a silver fox vibe, had a full gray beard and blue or green contact lenses, replacing his usual dark brown eyes. This gave Depp a mature and enigmatic look. He had traded his signature shaggy brunette hair for long salt and pepper locks pulled back, save for two long tendrils framing his face. Depp also cut a suave figure, dressed in a navy double-breasted suit and a blue French cuff button-down shirt worn without a necktie, as he held a cocktail and gazed ominously into the distance. He looked drastically different from the image audiences had grown familiar with. But what was this whole reinvention for? It was soon announced, following the now viral photo of Depp, that he was officially back in Hollywood to grace our screens with his iconic performances, but not in the usual way. This time, it would be a different, stylish, and more layered Depp. This transformative comeback was massive and well strategized, signaling that once again, Depp was set to star in the thriller movie Day Drinker. While the title of the movie wasn't exactly shocking, after all, drinking was one of the most recognized traits of Depp's character Jack Sparrow. It wasn't just the theme that caught people's attention. It was Depp's look. Over the years, Johnny Depp had kept a consistent signature style in his roles, but now he had traded that look for something dramatically different, marking his grand return to the Hollywood spotlight. Although Day Drinker wasn't the first film Depp acted in after the trial, it's widely considered his real return to the big leagues. During Depp's legal battle, most Hollywood producers and directors had cut ties with him. No one wanted to be involved in the legal and reputational drama. However, after he was legally cleared and declared not guilty, Depp starred in the French historical drama Jean du Barry in 2023. Though critically discussed, the film didn't quite break through internationally. It was a French production, distant from the Hollywood terrain where Depp was better known and celebrated. However, now with Day Drinker, Johnny Depp is stepping back into his first major Hollywood movie since 2018's Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, where he played the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald. He was expected to star in the series but was dropped from the movie due to his ongoing legal disputes, and producers were unwilling to associate with an actor facing serious public allegations. In Day Drinker, Depp plays the role of a mysterious guest on board a private yacht who forms an unlikely bond with a grieving bartender, played by Madeline Klein. The two soon find themselves entangled with a dangerous criminal figure played by Penelope Cruz. Penelope, one of Depp's longtime collaborators. With a cast like this and a reinvented Depp at the center, this movie is bound to be a hit. But what does this transformation mean? And is this just the beginning of Depp's next era? Keep watching to find out. The public has been quite overwhelmed following the release of the handsome, silver-haired Johnny Depp photo. It was the first time in a long while that Depp had positively stirred such a public frenzy. This was mainly because he had stepped back from Hollywood as he stopped getting movie roles. Depp was forced to move to a quiet neighborhood in London, where he could take time to heal and clear his mind from all the drama he had been involved in. During that period, Depp focused on his health and overall well-being. He reportedly surrounded himself with a good group of people who brought out the positive side of him, spending time painting, playing music, and enjoying peaceful moments with close friends. The public was thrilled to see Jack Sparrow, well, Johnny Depp, back on their screens. Many fans believe this comeback is exactly what he needed to rise back to the top. They are happy that Hollywood is finally giving him another chance, as not many get to rise again after they've fallen from grace so publicly. However, Johnny Depp has a very different opinion on all of this. While the public viewed Depp's role in Day Drinker as a comeback, Depp doesn't see his return to the screen that way at all. He wondered why people kept calling it a comeback, because, in his words, he said he didn't go anywhere. He had been around, within reach, and accessible. The only difference was that people stopped calling, perhaps out of fear, discomfort, or uncertainty due to what was going on at the time, but he never vanished. Depp described the label of comeback as if people were expecting him to emerge like a circus act, doing a tap dance or trying to impress the crowd just to win their approval. But that wasn't what he was doing. Instead, he was simply doing what he knew how to do best, acting, with ease, and without the fear of needing anyone's validation or permission to be himself again. But why was the public calling Johnny Depp's return a comeback? What exactly did he just come back from? To understand this, we need to go back to the storm that nearly erased Johnny Depp from our screens. The marriage that shook Johnny Depp. For over 3 decades, Johnny Depp has graced our screens and made audiences fall in love with his versatile and eccentric characters. However, everything took a sharp turn when he met Amber Heard, the Aquaman star, a woman who would almost cost him his career. So, how did it all begin? Depp and Amber began dating in 2012, shortly after Depp ended his 14-year relationship with French actress Vanessa Paradis. Depp and Paradis had 2 children together, Lily Rose and Jack. Although they were never officially married, theirs was one of the most admired Hollywood partnerships. After the split, Amber entered the picture. She and Depp had originally met in 2011 while filming The Rum Diary, and the chemistry between them became undeniable. They began spending more time together, and soon, rumors of an engagement began to swirl. Although the couple initially tried to keep things private, Depp confirmed their engagement while promoting his film Transcendence. Fans were excited. Another Hollywood power couple had emerged. A few months later, in February 2015, they tied the knot. They had not just one, but 2 weddings. One at Depp's Los Angeles home and another at his private island in the Bahamas. Their wedding quickly became one of the most talked about Hollywood events of that year. But little did Johnny Depp know, he may have just made the biggest mistake of his life. Barely a year into the marriage, Amber filed for divorce from Depp, citing irreconcilable differences. The announcement shocked the public, who had believed their love story was destined to last. But things took a darker turn when, during the divorce proceedings, Amber filed for a restraining order against Depp, alleging domestic violence. Fans were stunned. Jack Sparrow, accused of such a serious offense? It seemed unthinkable. In a sworn declaration, Amber claimed Depp threw a cell phone at her during an argument, striking her in the eye and cheek. She also accused him of often screaming at her, hitting her, violently grabbing her face, and pulling her hair. Along with her statement, she submitted a photograph of her bruised face. But the story didn't end there. Amber also appeared with a visible bruise below her right eye, proving her point. These allegations threw Johnny Depp into a public relations nightmare. With visual evidence, a courtroom declaration, and a media frenzy, he quickly became one of the least favored actors in Hollywood. His image was tarnished. The storm had begun, and it wasn't going to calm down anytime soon. Amber went on to claim that their entire relationship had been characterized by abuse. According to her, Johnny had been verbally, emotionally, and physically abusive from the very beginning. She described his behavior as filled with anger, hostility, humiliation, and threats of assault whenever she questioned his authority or disagreed with him. Amber said she lived in constant fear throughout the marriage, afraid that Depp could return home unannounced at any time, shattering the peace she briefly felt in his absence and replacing it with fear and anxiety. Depp, however, firmly denied all the allegations. He swore he had never laid a hand on Amber and had never abused her in any way. In 2016, Depp's lawyer stated in court documents that Amber was making these allegations in an attempt to secure a financial settlement. A police officer was also called to the stand. He had once responded to a domestic call on May 21, 2016, at Depp and Amber's home. However, he reported that there was no visible evidence of injury or damage at the scene when they arrived. Still, the media storm continued. The case dragged on for months, becoming one of the most publicized celebrity divorces in recent memory. Eventually, Depp and Amber reached a divorce settlement, but the damage had already been done. Everyone saw Depp as a woman beater. The couple released a joint statement saying, "Our relationship was intensely passionate and at times volatile, but always bound by love. Neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm." Amber received a $7 million divorce settlement from Depp and publicly promised to donate the entire amount to two charities, the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and the Children's Hospital Los Angeles. However, it was never fully confirmed whether that donation ever materialized. While Amber walked away with $7 million and a rising career, Johnny Depp's reputation was rapidly deteriorating. Hollywood producers and studios began cutting ties with him. He was expected to reprise his role in the 6th installment of Pirates of the Caribbean, but that became impossible. Depp reportedly lost a $22.5 million deal with Disney, which didn't want to be associated with someone labeled as a wife beater. Johnny Depp held on and tried to move forward with his life, but then came June 1, 2018. On this day, The Sun published an article with the headline, "Gone Potty. How can J.K. Rowling be genuinely happy casting wife-beater Johnny Depp in the new Fantastic Beasts film?" The article referred to his casting in Fantastic Beasts, where he played the role of Gellert Grindelwald, a powerful dark wizard. Feeling defamed, Depp sued the British newspaper's parent company, News Group Newspapers, for libel, but he lost the case. The court referenced Amber Heard's previous testimony and her submitted photos of injuries, and concluded that there was substantial truth in the accusations. This loss was devastating for Depp. Just a few days after the ruling, Warner Brothers asked him to resign from his role as Grindelwald. Depp complied. He was heartbroken, but admitted he understood their decision. After all, no studio wanted to deal with the backlash of casting someone publicly labeled a domestic abuser. His role was later handed over to Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen. At that point, Depp was left with no movie deals, no major roles, and few allies in Hollywood. Directors and producers avoided him. His image had been tainted. He was no longer seen as the charismatic, rebellious icon, but rather as someone with a dark cloud over his name. However, everything took a new turn. Wondering how Depp changed the narrative and became one of the most celebrated Hollywood redemption stories again? Keep watching to find out. Johnny Depp's revolution. From shame to redemption. Johnny Depp kept a low profile following the lack of offers to be cast in major movies. He spent time with close friends, enjoying moments of peace and trying out smaller low-key roles in indie films and plays. But everything took a new turn on December 18, 2018, when Amber Heard published an op-ed in the Washington Post titled, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." In the piece, she wrote about her experiences with abuse, starting from childhood to adulthood, and how she endured those traumas in silence because she never believed she could get justice. She explained how, for years, she didn't see herself as a victim. But everything shifted, she wrote, 2 years prior, when she became a public figure representing domestic abuse. From that point, she claimed, she began to feel the full weight of public backlash, the wrath that often comes for women who speak out. Although she didn't mention Johnny Depp's name directly, it was obvious to everyone that the piece referenced her legal battle with him. Her remarks about becoming the face of domestic violence survivors and the timing of the statement strongly implied that she was speaking about her relationship with Depp and the courtroom drama that followed. Amber's message resonated with many. She urged women to speak up and asked for support from society for victims of domestic violence. The op-ed was widely praised and circulated by advocacy groups and mainstream media. But while Amber was being applauded publicly, Johnny Depp was preparing his legal counterattack. He had taken serious issue with the implications of the op-ed and felt it falsely painted him as an abuser. In March 2019, Depp filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Amber, arguing that the article irreparably damaged his reputation and career. The lawsuit centered on a specific passage from the op-ed where Amber wrote that 2 years ago she became a public figure representing domestic abuse. Though she didn't name Depp, his lawyers claimed the reference was clearly about him and argued that the claim of domestic abuse was categorically and demonstrably false. Depp's legal team emphasized that the case wasn't about money. They made it clear that Johnny Depp's real concern was vindicating himself and clearing his name from the wife-beater label that had destroyed his career in the Hollywood industry. He denied ever physically abusing Amber Heard and wanted the truth to be established in court. A spokesperson for Amber responded that Amber had moved on with her life and didn't want to continue the cycle of legal warfare. However, since she was now at the center of a defamation case, she had no choice but to prepare for trial and defend herself. What followed was a courtroom showdown watched by millions. The trial lasted for weeks, and each day brought a new wave of headlines and public reactions. Explosive allegations and painful details emerged through both testimonies and submitted evidence. In response to Depp's lawsuit, Amber filed a $100 million counterclaim, accusing Depp of orchestrating a smear campaign against her. She argued that Depp's lawsuit was not just a legal defense. It was, in her view, a continuation of the abuse and harassment she claimed to have endured. Amber asked the court to grant her immunity against Depp's complaint and demanded compensatory damages of $100 million, doubling the $50 million Depp had originally sued her for. In April 2022, the defamation trial finally kicked off at Fairfax County Court, Virginia. Amber Heard's lawyer stood firm, saying Amber had every right to share her story and that she was simply exercising her freedom of speech. Johnny Depp took the stand and opened up about the abuse he said he endured from Amber. The court played an audio clip where Amber could be heard admitting she hit him. Depp also revealed that Amber had been unfaithful to him, mentioning her extramarital affairs with Elon Musk and James Franco. He also revealed one shocking moment when Amber allegedly left her feces in their bed. He described their relationship as chaotic, saying she often started fights over small things and would push him until things exploded. Depp's ex, Vanessa Paradis, also testified, saying Johnny was nothing like what he was being accused of. She called him one of the calmest people she knew. But Amber's legal team didn't back down. They brought up Depp's history with drugs and alcohol, using old texts and recordings to paint him as unstable and dangerous. They argued he had been the one to hurt her. Depp didn't shy away from the toll the op-ed had taken. He told the court how everything changed for him after it was published. He lost roles, friends turned away, and his name was dragged through the dirt for something he didn't do. But something was different this time. The public was watching, and many were siding with Johnny Depp. Amber, feeling the heat, fired her crisis PR team mid-trial. She came back with a new angle, saying Depp was trapped between addiction and sobriety, and that living with him was like walking on a tightrope. She spoke of a moment when he allegedly searched her body for drugs during one of his paranoid episodes, and of the times he raised his hand in anger because he couldn't find his drugs. However, Depp denied every bit of it. He called her stories false, insisting they were made up. Amber didn't back down either. She said she had been silenced for years and was finally telling her truth. Whether people liked it or not, she had the right to speak. After weeks of testimonies, the jury of 7 finally gave their verdict. They ruled that Amber had defamed Depp. Depp was awarded $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages. In her countersuit, Amber received $2 million in compensatory damages, but no punitive award. The verdict was a huge win for Johnny. He said the jury had given him his life back. In an interview, he told the public it was never about the money. It was about telling the truth, no matter the outcome. He wanted people to know who he was, not the version painted by someone else. Amber, crushed by the outcome, called the decision heartbreaking. She said she had lost everything, that she had been torn apart again and called names. Still, she said she wouldn't stop telling her truth or be threatened into silence. With the trial behind them, both returned to their separate lives. Johnny Depp was finally free from the weight of her accusations. But even with the court victory, the phone calls didn't rush in. Studios didn't jump immediately. Depp continued with his low-key life until an opportunity presented itself. Day drinker. This was not just any comeback for Depp, but an energetic fresh start that no one saw coming. With a shocking new look, Depp stepped out, and the world took notice. This is believed to be the start of something bigger for Johnny Depp. What do you think of Johnny Depp's transformative look that's been causing a stir? Do you think this is enough to put him in the spotlight again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.